order. Welcome to Campfire Stories. I'm Rose from Christchurch City Libraries, and I'm reading Agatha Christie's The Moving Finger. Well, last chapter I read, we're finally introduced to Miss Marple. She's got a great mind, Miss Marple, hasn't she? And I wonder if she started to figure out something that's maybe a bit different to what the others have. In this chapter today, Jerry's going to make a discovery. I wonder if you can guess what it might be. We'll see at the end. On the following day, I went mad. Looking back on it, that is really the only explanation I can find. I was due for my monthly visit to Marcus Kent. I went up by train. To my intense surprise, Joanna elected to stay behind. As a rule, she was eager to come, and we usually stayed up for a couple of days. This time, however, I proposed to return the same day by the evening train, but even so, I was astonished at Joanna. She merely said enigmatically that she'd got plenty to do, and why spend hours in a nasty stuffy train when it was a lovely day in the country? That, of course, was undeniable, but sounded very unlike Joanna. She said she didn't want the car, so I was to drive it to the station and leave it parked there against my return. The station of Lymstock is situated, for some obscure reason known to railway companies only, quite half a mile from Lymstock itself. Halfway along the road, I overtook Megan, shuffling along in a nameless manner. I pulled up. "Hello, what are you doing?" "Just out for a walk." "But not what is called a good brisk walk, I gather. You were crawling along like a dispirited crab." "Well, I wasn't going anywhere particular." "Then you'd better come and see me off at the station." I opened the door of the car and Megan jumped in. "Where are you going?" she asked. "London, to see my doctor." "Your back's not worse, is it?" "No, it's practically all right again. I'm expecting him to be very pleased about it." Megan nodded. We drew up at the station. I parked the car and went in and brought my ticket at the booking office. There were very few people on the platform and nobody I knew. "You wouldn't like to lend me a penny, would you?" said Megan. "Then I'd get a bit of chocolate out of the slot machine." "Here you are, baby," I said, handing her the coin in question. "Sure you wouldn't like some clear gums or some throat pastils as well?" "I like chocolate best," said Megan, without suspecting sarcasm. She went off to the chocolate machine, and I looked after her with a feeling of mounting irritation. She was wearing trodden-over shoes and a coarse, unattractive stockings, and a particularly shapeless jumper and skirt. I don't know why all this should have infuriated me, but it did. I said angrily as she came back, "Why do you wear those disgusting stockings?" Megan looked down at them, surprised. "What's the matter with them?" "Everything's the matter with them. They're loathsome. And why wear a pullover like a decayed cabbage?" "It's all right, isn't it? I've had it for years." "So I should imagine. And why do you—" At this minute the tram came in and interrupted my angry lecture. I got into an empty first-class carriage, let down the window, and leaned out to continue the conversation. Megan stood below me, her face upturned. She asked me why I was so cross. "I'm not cross," I said untruly. "It just infuriates me to see you so slack and not caring how you look." "I couldn't look nice anyway, so why does it matter?" "My God," I said, "I'd like to see you turned out properly. I'd like to take you to London and outfit you from tip to toe." "I wish you could," said Megan. The train began to move. I looked down into Megan's upturned, wistful face, and then, as I have said, madness came upon me. I opened the door, grabbed Megan with one arm, and fairly hauled her into the carriage. There was an outraged shout from a porter, but all he could do was dexterously to bang the door shut again. I pulled Megan up from the floor where my impetuous action had landed her. "What on earth did you do that for?" she demanded, rubbing one knee. "Shut up," I said. "You're coming to London with me, and when I've done with you, you won't know yourself. I'll show you what you can look like if you try. I'm tired of seeing you mooch about down at heel and all anyhow." "Oh," said Megan in an ecstatic whisper. The ticket collector came along, and I bought Megan a return ticket. She sat in her corner looking at me in a kind of awed respect. "I say," she said when the man had gone, "you are sudden, aren't you?" "Very," I said. "It runs in our family." How to explain to Megan the impulse that had come over me? She had looked like a wistful dog being left behind. She now had on her face the incredulous pleasure of the dog who has been taken on the walk after all. "I don't suppose you know London very well," I said to Megan. "Yes, I do," said Megan. "I always went through it to school, and I've been to the dentist there and to a pantomime." "This," I said darkly, "will be a different London." We arrived with half an hour to spare before my appointment in Harley Street. I took a taxi and we drove straight to Mirontin, Joanna's dressmaker. Mirontin is, in the flesh, an unconventional and breezy woman of 45, Mary Gray. She is a clever woman and very good company. I've always liked her. I said to Megan, "You are my cousin." "Why?" "Don't argue," I said. Mary Gray was being firm with a stout Jewess who was enamoured of a skin-tight powder blue evening dress. I detached her and took her aside. "Listen," I said, "I've brought a little cousin of mine along. Joanna was coming up but was prevented. But she said I could leave it all to you. You see what the girl looks like now?" "My God, I do," said Mary Gray with feeling. "Well, I want her turned out right in every particular from head to foot, carte blanche, stockings, shoes, undies, everything. By the way, the man who does Joanna's hair is close round here, isn't he?" "Antoine? Round the corner. I'll see to that too." "You're a woman in 1,000. "Oh, I shall enjoy it, apart from the money, and that's not to be sneezed at in these days. Half my damned brutes of women never pay their bills. But as I say, I shall enjoy it." She shot a quick professional glance at Megan, standing a little way away. "She's got a lovely figure." "You must have X-ray eyes," I said. "She looks completely shapeless to me." Mary Gray laughed. "It's these schools," she said. "They seem to take a pride in turning out girls who preen themselves on looking like nothing on earth. They call it being sweet and unsophisticated. Sometimes it takes a whole season before a girl can pull herself together and look human. Don't worry, leave it all to me." "Right," I said. "I'll come back and fetch her about 6. Marcus Kent was pleased with me. He told me that I surpassed his wildest expectations. "You must have the constitution of an elephant," he said, "to make a comeback like this. Oh well, wonderful what country air and no late hours or excitements will do for a man if he can only stick it." "I grant you your first two," I said, "but don't think that the country is free from excitements. We've had a good deal in my part." "What sort of excitement?" "Murder," I said. Marcus Kent pursed up his mouth and whistled. "Some bucolic love tragedy? Farmer lad kills his lass?" "Not at all. A crafty, determined lunatic killer." "I haven't read anything about it. When did they lay him by the heels?" "They haven't, and it's a she." "Whew! I'm not sure that Lymstock's quite the right place for you, old boy." I said firmly, "Yes, it is, and you're not going to get me out of it." Marcus Kent had a low mind. He said at once, "So that's it? Found a blonde?" "Not at all," I said, with a guilty thought of Elsie Holland. "It's merely that the psychology of crime interests me a good deal." "Oh, all right. It certainly hasn't done you any harm so far, but just make sure that your lunatic killer doesn't obliterate you." "No fear of that," I said. "What about dining with me this evening? You can tell me all about your revolting murder." "Sorry, I'm booked." "Date with the lady, eh?" "Yes, you're definitely on the mend." "I suppose you could call it that," I said, rather tickled at the idea of Megan in the role. I was at Mirontin at 6 o'clock when the establishment was officially closing. Mary Gray came to meet me at the top of the stairs outside the showroom. She had a finger to her lips. "You're going to have a shock. If I say it myself, I've put in a good bit of work." I went into the showroom. Megan was standing looking at herself in a long mirror. I give you my word, I hardly recognised her. For the minute it took my breath away. Tall and slim as a willow, with delicate ankles and feet shown off by sheer silk stockings and well-cut shoes. Yes, lovely feet and hands, small bones, quality and distinction in every line of her. Her hair had been trimmed and shaped to her head, and it was glowing like a glossy chestnut. They'd had the sense to leave her face alone. She was not made up, or if she was, it was so light and delicate that it did not show. Her mouth needed no lipstick. Moreover, there was something about her that I had never seen before, a new innocent pride in the arch of her neck. She looked at me gravely with a small, shy smile. "I do look rather nice, don't I?" said Megan. "Nice?" I said. "Nice isn't the word. Come on out to dinner, and if every second man doesn't turn round to look at you, I'll be surprised. You'll knock all the other girls into a cocked hat." Megan was not beautiful, but she was unusual and striking looking. She had personality. She walked into the restaurant ahead of me, and as the head waiter hurried towards us, I felt the thrill of idiotic pride that a man feels when he has got something out of the ordinary with him. We had cocktails first and lingered over them. Then we dined, and later we danced. Megan was keen to dance, and I didn't want to disappoint her, but for some reason or other I hadn't thought she would dance well. But she did. She was light as a feather in my arms, and her body and feet followed the rhythm perfectly. "Gosh," I said, "you can dance." She seemed a little surprised. "Well, of course I can. We had dancing class every week at school." "It takes more than dancing class to make a dancer," I said. We went back to our table. "Isn't this food lovely?" said Megan, "and everything?" She heaved a delighted sigh. "Exactly my sentiments," I said. It was a delirious evening. I was still mad. Megan brought me down to earth when she said doubtfully, "Oughtn't we to be going home?" My jaw dropped. Yes, definitely I was mad. I had forgotten everything. I was in a world divorced from reality, existing in it with the creature I had created. "Good Lord," I said. I realised that the last train had gone. "Stay there," I said. "I'm going to telephone." I rang up the Llewellyn Hire people and ordered their biggest and fastest car to come round as soon as possible. I came back to Megan. "The last train has gone," I said, "so we're going home by car." "Are we? What fun!" What a nice child she was, I thought. So pleased with everything, so unquestioning, accepting all my suggestions without fuss or bother. The car came, and it was large and fast, but all the same it was very late when we came into Lymstock. Suddenly conscience-stricken, I said, "They'll have been sending out search parties for you." But Megan seemed in an equable mood. She said vaguely, "Oh, I don't think so. I often go out and don't come home for lunch." "Yes, my dear child, but you've been out for tea and dinner too." However, Megan's lucky star was in the ascendant. The house was dark and silent. On Megan's advice, we went round to the back and threw stones at Rose's window. In due course, Rose looked out, and with many suppressed exclamations and palpitations, came down to let us in. "Well now, and I was saying you were asleep in your bed. The master and Miss Holland," slight sniff after Miss Holland's name, "had early supper and went for a drive. I said I'd keep an eye on the boys. I thought I heard you come in when I was up in the nursery trying to quiet Colin, who was playing up, but you weren't about when I came down, so I thought you'd gone to bed. And that's what I said when the master came in and asked for you." I cut the conversation short by remarking that it was where Megan had better go now. "Good night," said Megan, "and thank you awfully. It's been the loveliest day I've ever had." I drove home slightly light-headed still and tipped the chauffeur handsomely, offering him a bed if he liked, but he preferred to drive back through the night. The hall door had opened during our conversation, and as he drove away it was flung wide open, and Joanna said, "So it's you at last, is it?" "Were you worried about me?" I asked, coming in and shutting the door. Joanna went into the drawing room and I followed her. There was a coffee pot on the trivet, and Joanna made herself coffee whilst I helped myself to a whisky and soda. "Worried about you? Of course not. I thought you'd decided to stay in town and have a binge." "I've had a binge, of a kind." I grinned and then began to laugh. Joanna asked what I was laughing at, and I told her. "But Jerry, you must have been mad, quite mad." "I suppose I was." "But my dear boy, you can't do things like that, not in a place like this. It will be all round Lymstock tomorrow." "I suppose it will, but after all, Megan's only a child." "She isn't. She's 20. You can't take a girl of 20 to London and buy her clothes without a most frightful scandal. Good gracious, Jerry, you'll probably have to marry the girl." Joanna was half serious, half laughing. It was at that moment that I made a very important discovery. "Damn it all," I said. "I don't mind if I do. In fact, I should like it. A very funny expression came over Joanna's face. She got up and said dryly as she went towards the door, "Yes, I've known that for some time." She left me standing, glass in hand, aghast at my new discovery. Did you think that was going to happen? I could see it coming a mile away. We'll see what happens next. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.